Daytime television thrives on light laughter, polished smiles, and conversations that glide safely between entertainment and comfort. Viewers tune in expecting warmth, maybe a little drama, but nothing that lingers in the heart. That's why no one was prepared for what happened on a quiet, weekday morning when Mark Wahlberg walked onto a familiar studio, set and sat across from Joy Behar. What began as a routine interview, promoting a film, trading jokes, pleasing the audience, slowly transformed into something raw, unexpected, and deeply human. Cameras kept rolling. The audience fell silent. And in the middle of the glare of studio lights, two very different lives collided in a moment that shocked daytime TV and left millions watching with tears in their eyes. This is not just a story about an on-air meltdown. It's a story about grief, misunderstood intentions, and the fragile line between public personas and private pain. The studio buzzed with its usual rhythm, makeup brushes tapping, producers whispering into headsets, audience members shuffling into their seats. Bright lights warmed the stage, and the familiar theme music played, inviting comfort into living rooms across the country. Joy Behar sat confidently at the desk, papers neatly stacked, glasses perched just right. She had done this thousands of times. Interviews were her territory. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced with a practiced smile, "please welcome Mark Wahlberg." Applause erupted as Mark walked out, waving politely. He looked composed, tailored jacket, relaxed posture, that familiar Hollywood calm. But behind his smile, something was tight. Only those who knew him well would have noticed the weight in his eyes. They exchanged greetings, a light joke about Boston accents, a laugh from the audience. Everything felt normal. Joy leaned forward. "So Mark, another action movie, another tough guy role. Do you ever get tired of being the strong man on screen?" Mark smiled. "Strength means different things at different times," he replied. "Sometimes it's fists. Sometimes it's just showing up." The audience murmured approvingly. Joy nodded, then shifted tone. Casual, almost playful. "You've talked a lot about discipline, faith, family. Some people say you've become intense about it." Mark chuckled softly. "I've lived a few lives. I try to learn from all of them." Joy glanced at her notes. "Critics say that sometimes your views come off as judgmental, that not everyone gets the same chance as you did." A subtle change passed over Mark's face. He adjusted in his chair. "I don't judge people," he said calmly. "I just believe in accountability and compassion. Both." The audience clapped lightly, but the air shifted. Producers exchanged quick looks. This wasn't hostile, yet. But it was no longer playful. Joy pressed on, perhaps without realizing how close she was stepping to a personal edge. "Still," she said, "you talk a lot about redemption. Do you ever worry that not everyone wants to hear a sermon from a movie star?" A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. Mark inhaled slowly. "I don't preach," he said. "I share. Because someone once shared with me when I was at my lowest." For a moment, silence. Joy tilted her head, curious but still detached. "And what was your lowest?" she asked. Mark opened his mouth, then paused. The lights felt hotter now. The room felt smaller. Somewhere deep inside him, a door cracked open that had been closed for years. Mark looked down at his hands. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. "My lowest wasn't public," he said. "It was personal." Joy smiled gently, trying to guide things back to safe ground. "Of course. We all have private struggles." Mark shook his head slightly. "Not all struggles get respected when they become public." The audience leaned in. He looked up, meeting Joy's eyes. "I lost someone," he said. "Someone who believed in me before anyone else did." Joy nodded sympathetically. "I'm sorry for your loss." Mark swallowed. "Thank you. But what hurts isn't just the loss. It's when people reduce your pain to a talking point." A hush fell over the studio. Joy shifted in her seat. "Mark, no one is trying to—" "Let me finish, please," he said, suddenly firmer. This was the moment. The tone changed. Not anger, hurt. "I sit here smiling, promoting a movie," he continued. "While people joke about faith, discipline, or mistakes from decades ago, they don't see the nights you stay awake wondering if you're worthy of forgiveness." Joy opened her mouth, then closed it. Mark's eyes glistened. "I've buried friends. I've stood in places where cameras weren't allowed, praying no one would recognize me while I fell apart. The audience was silent now. No laughter. No clapping. Joy tried to regain control. This is daytime TV, Mark. We're just having a conversation. And conversations matter, Mark replied, his voice breaking. Especially when millions are watching. Words matter. For a split second, the room felt like it might explode, but instead, something softer happened. Mark exhaled shakily. I didn't come here to fight, he said. I came here because my mother used to watch this show every morning. After she passed, I sat in her kitchen alone, listening to reruns, pretending she was still there. Gasps echoed through the audience. Joy's expression changed completely. The performer faded. The person emerged. I didn't know that, she said quietly. No, Mark replied. Most people don't. That's the problem. Tears slipped down his face. He didn't wipe them away. The meltdown wasn't loud. It was honest. For several seconds, no one spoke. Producers waited, unsure whether to cut to commercial. The director hesitated. Joy reached across the desk. Mark, she said softly, I owe you an apology. The audience gasped again, this time with emotion. I've been doing this job a long time, Joy continued. Sometimes I forget there's a human being behind the headlines. Mark nodded, eyes still wet. I get defensive, Joy admitted. I push. But I never want to be the reason someone feels small for surviving. She paused, her voice trembling. I lost people too, and I know what it's like when grief gets packaged into something digestible. Mark looked at her, not as an opponent, but as another wounded soul. I don't need everyone to agree with me, he said. I just need them to remember that pain isn't entertainment. Joy squeezed his hand. From the audience, a woman stood up. Thank you, she said, her voice shaking. My son struggles. Seeing this, it matters. Applause broke out, slow at first, then overwhelming. Not the loud, celebratory kind, the grateful kind. Joy turned back to the camera. This, she said, is why we talk. Not to win, but to understand. Mark managed a small smile. My mom would have liked that, he said. They shared a quiet laugh through tears. When the show went to commercial, social media exploded. Clips spread everywhere. Headlines screamed meltdown, but viewers saw something else. Vulnerability. Later, Mark would say it wasn't his best television moment. Joy would say it was one of her most important. Because for a few minutes, daytime TV stopped being safe and became real. Sometimes the most shocking moments aren't fueled by anger, but by truth finally being spoken aloud. What happened between Mark Wahlberg and Joy Behar wasn't a clash of egos. It was a reminder that behind every public figure is a private heart, still healing. And on that day, millions didn't just watch a show. They witnessed humanity, live, unfiltered, and unforgettable.